Nice to meet you guys. Well, welcome to our show once again, official. This is your host, Jonathan. Today's topic will be about education, to be specific, language teaching. We will be viewing a an approach to language teaching, CLT, um, and we will have another special guest, Citlali, who comes from Puebla and has been dedicating a couple of years to this subject.
Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Citlali and I'm glad to be here in your program. And I am 25 years old and I have made some research about some methods and approaches really that are connected with education. And now we're going to explain more about communicative language teaching.
First of all, we must understand that CLT is a communicative approach to the teaching of foreign languages, simply known as communicative approach. CLT is defined as an approach to teaching a second or foreign language that emphasizes interaction both as the mean and the ultimate goal of the language. What does CLT aim for? CLT aims to make communicative competence the goal of language teaching and developing procedures for teaching the four language skills. As we all know, these skills are reading, writing, speaking, and listening. What are the origins of CLT? The origins of CLT come back from the late 1960s, when before this SLT was taught by practicing basic structure, situation-based activities. British applied linguistics such as Dale Haynes and Jay Austen, American social linguistics, and Holiday rejected this theoretical assumption, underlining that SLT only focused mainly on the mastery of structures rather than the communicative proficiency. So they basically said that SLT only focused on the structure of the language rather than being able to communicate with somebody else in their language. Some of these applied linguistics created a investigation in which they developed a language course which was broken into units. One of these investigators was Wilkins, who proposed a functional or communicative syllabus for language teaching. Well, Wilkins defines two categories of meaning. He mentions that notional categories are one of them, which consist in concepts such as time, sequence, location, and frequency. And the second one, which is the category of communicative function, which refers to requests, denials, offers, and complaints. After this, later on, the European Council incorporated Wilkinson's semantic analysis into a set of specifications for Level 1 communicative language syllabus. In this view of Wilkins, he saw two versions of CLT. The first one, the weak version, which stresses that the importance of providing learners with opportunities to use their English for communicative purposes. In other words, learning to use English. And the second version, which was the strong version, which claims that language is acquired through communication, using English to learn it. So they basically said that after we are able to communicate through the language, we start developing the knowledge, and we start learning the structures of the language. Theory of knowledge of CLT. The communicative approach in language teaching starts from a theory of language as a communication. The goal of language teaching and what Hines refers as communicative competence. Hines coins this term in order to contrast a communicative view of language and Chomsky's theory of competence. So basically, Chomsky's view of competence was basically focused more on structure, while Hines' view of competence was basically focused more on communication and being able to use the language in a everyday life. In Hines' view, a person who acquires communicative competence not only acquires knowledge but also acquires the ability to use the language. And what he means by knowledge and the language being acquired to use it is knowing whether something is formally possible, whether something is convenient, whether something is appropriate in relation to the context, into the context which it is in, and lastly, whether something is in fact done, actually performed, and its doing entails. Well, Hines' theory of knowing a language entails offers a much more comprehensive view than Chomsky's view of competence, which deals primarily with abstract grammatical knowledge. Like I mentioned before, Chomsky primarily focused more on the grammatical part, and Hines focused more on the communicative part, actually using the language to communicate. Another linguistic theory of CLT is Holliday's function account of language use. Holliday elaborated a powerful theory of the functions of a language. He describes 7 basic functions that a language performs for children learning their first language. Well, he says that children learning their first language should have these 7 functions. The first one, instrumental function. What they mean by this is using language to get things. The second one is regulatory function, which refers to using language to control the behavior of others. Thirdly, interactional function, using language to create interaction with others. The fourth one would be personal function, using language to express personal feelings and meanings. Fifth one, heuristic function, using language to learn and to discover. The sixth one, imaginative function, using language to create a world of the imagination. And lastly, the seventh one, representational function, using language to communicate information. Well, he says that a kid that is learning their first language should have these 7 functions. Well, some of the theory of learning of CLT. Little has been written about CLT theory of learning, so there's a limited amount of information on theory of learning of CLT. Well, some of the things that we can see of CLT theory of learning is the elements such as the communication principle, which involves activities that involve real communication prompt learning. Another element is the tasks principle, which involves activities in which language is used for communication prompt learning. And lastly, the third one is the meaningfulness principle, language that is meaningful to the learner and supports the learning process. Well, another account of CLT has been attempted to describe theories of language learning processes that are capable with CLT. As a consequence, learning activities are selected based on how well they engage the learner in meaningful and authentic language use, rather than the mechanical practice of language partners. Um, what they mean by this is that the activities selected to be used in CLT approach are activities that involve interaction between students in order to create meaningful meanings, in order to promote the language use, rather than just focusing on the grammatical and structures of the language. So then, what are some of the types of learning and teaching activities of CLT? The range of exercises, types, and activities capable with a communicative approach is unlimited. So what I mean by this is that the activities based on CLT are a wide variety of activities. We have things such as puzzles, games, uh, we have worksheets, we have tasks that involve communication, role playing. Um, we have exercises that enable students to attain communicative objectives. We have activities that involve kids to describe stuff, students to share information, maybe routines with their partners. And basically all these classroom activities are designed to focus on communicative competence. They want the students to use the language in the real world and to start sharing their ideas, their feelings, whatever they just want kids to start communicating. They want kids to use the vocabulary that they learn. They want kids to interact with the other students in order for them to have a more real life situation language, because as we all know, most of these other activities that we do in school are mostly paperwork, book reading, and that doesn't really help out with the language. CLT, like I mentioned before, focuses more on interaction and creating meanings. So yeah, the types of learning and teaching activities are unlimited. It just depends on the teacher's creativity and how far they are willing to go to create a better experience and to allow kids to learn much faster and without having to realize that learning a language has to be a stressful situation. Like I said, these activities involve a lot of interaction because CLT focuses more on the interaction of the language rather than the grammatical part. So writing it's part of the activities, but it mostly focuses on speaking.